Hello, everyone. I'm Raj Kumar, President and Editor-in-Chief of DevX. Really excited to be with all of you for a big announcement. This is the time of the year when the Hilton Humanitarian Prize gets awarded, and in a moment I'll be joined by the President of the Hilton Foundation to make that announcement for the very first time. I'll then be joined by the award winner. It's a big day, an important moment. Thanks for being with us. Well, I am delighted to be with Peter Lawharn, who's the president and CEO of the Hilton Foundation. And of course, the Conrad N Hilton Foundation is one of the world's largest and is widely known and looked to, especially this time of the year, because you make a big announcement. You award the Hilton Humanitarian Prize every year around this time. And it's something people pay a lot of attention to, partly because it's the largest such prize. It's $2.5 million given annually to a nonprofit organization that's doing extraordinary work to alleviate human suffering, and partly because of the attention that it gathers in our community. And people say, is this a harbinger? Is this a sign of what people are focusing on, a sense of the trends in the broader humanitarian space? So with no further ado, Peter, I'd love to hear, and I know everyone watching would love to hear, who won the Hilton Humanitarian Prize this year?
Thanks, Raj. And you're right. This is easily one of the best days of the year for me in my job. This year, the Hilton Foundation is thrilled to announce that the 2021 Humanitarian Prize winner is CAMFED, the Campaign for Female Education, an organization which has helped over 2 million girls in Africa get in and stay in primary and secondary education and become leaders in their communities. We are really impressed by the model, by the impact, by the replicability of what they do. And we thought that in this year of COVID, it was really important to highlight challenges to schooling. And for example, the concern that almost 11 million girls have left school because of COVID and are at risk of not coming back. We think that CAMFED as an organization has lots of ideas on how that can be combated.
Well, that is very exciting indeed, and I know there are people watching this around the world who are supporters of CAMFED, who know their work well, who are probably cheering at their computer screen, and there may be others who haven't heard of the organization and would love to know more. We are going to have shortly after you the executive director in Africa for CAMFED to hear a bit more about their organization and how they work. But maybe just say a little bit more about why, in a year when the prize committee could have gone in many directions. I mean, a COVID year has put a strain on the humanitarian sector like never before. I think more than 100 million people are still estimated to be driven into extreme poverty. There's the health consequences of the virus itself, and of course all the knock-on effects. Why did you end up focusing so squarely? Why do you think the jury came out and focused so squarely on especially girls' education in Africa? Why was that the place that the jury landed?
Well, it won't surprise your audience to hear about the importance of girl schooling for all development outcomes, for the entire SDG agenda. Basically, we've known for decades that investing in girls and young women is investing in the health of countries, from child survival to manageable population growth rates. We know that it's key to economic productivity. And we've seen in many countries that it's also key for social cohesion. These are all key COVID issues, but they're key long-term issues as well. And, the challenge of helping girls and young women get into and stay in school is not just a supply issue. It's not just, are there enough schools built? Are there enough teachers? It's also a question of the choices that families and communities and young women themselves make. And I think that's where CAMFED is really exemplary, because it knows that there are obstacles to girls pursuing the schooling that they would want. Those obstacles can be economic, they can be material, they can be different conceptions about opportunity cost or the potential of succeeding in school. And I think CAMFED's model takes care of all of those things, from the very financial to the very, do I have confidence that I can actually run this marathon and come out of it? And do I have models where I can see it's been done?
Yeah, there's so much focus now in the development and humanitarian sector on behavioral science and what it can teach us, as opposed to a very economics-driven approach. And from what I know about CAMFED, and as you just described it, that is a big part of how they see their model and their work, is taking into account the whole person, and not just kind of trying to deliver from on high a solution. In fact, I wonder, that connects to another buzzword in our field these days, which is localization, and the idea that humanitarian assistance should be driven more and more to the ground level, to the communities that are affected, and that they should be leading the change in their own lives and their own communities. Where does CAMFED fit into that broader conversation around localization in your mind?
In quite a striking way. I think, when CAMFED started, it was an effort to really help individual girls make their way through schooling, and it grew. But what happened that was different with CAMFED, I think, that I haven't seen in a wide range of other organizations, is that the girls who had benefited from the experience became a greater and greater part of the solution. There is a CAMFED association of alumni who have dedicated themselves to the success of future generations of girls. So that we've got almost 200,000 young women who are learning guides and mentors to other young girls. Each woman typically helps 3 or 4 other girls make their way through school, and it's got real potential in that way for replication. Throughout Africa, a lot of folks have looked at schooling as really just a supply issue. If we build enough schools, we'll get the people in. But it is supply and demand. And for my money, CAMFED has really cracked the code of demand in an excellent way across 5 countries.
Well, I know the people at CAMFED, and as I say in a moment, I'll be interviewing their executive director in Africa, are probably cheering and excited and pretty thrilled to get $2.5 million of unrestricted funds and to get this recognition, this platform really for their work. But I imagine many other people around the world who work on these issues are going to be heartened to know that the Hilton Foundation has selected this issue this year, that it's going to get the attention that it rightly deserves, that girls' education isn't seen as a marginal issue or a side issue or just a development issue, not a humanitarian one, but that it's really central. So it's a big day, a big announcement, and I want to just say thank you and congratulations for making it and for bringing it out to the world today.
And let me, before signing off, say 2 things. One from the heart, and one in terms of global strategy. From the heart, Raj, you know that my wife is from Rwanda. She grew up in rural Rwanda at a time when people of her gender and her ethnic group were not getting through primary school, let alone secondary or university. But her parents persisted, and her community supported her. That's how she came to work in the UN. That's how we met. And so I'm not involved in the selection of the laureate, but my heart sings when I think of the number of girls and families that will be supported by this. Globally, I think CAMFED has so much to give to the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 4 on education, SDG 5 on gender, but a range of other goals, even climate. And we will do our best to help them find their way to tables where these issues are being discussed globally. We're really excited about that. Thanks.
Thank you. And as I say, watch this space. We're delighted to be partnering with the Hilton Foundation, bringing this information to the broader global development and humanitarian community. And there is much more to come. I look forward to my conversation with the Executive Director in Africa for CAMFED. And thank you so much, Peter Lawharn, President and CEO of the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
Well, I'm now joined by Angie Muramirwa, who is the Executive Director in Africa for CAMFED. And Angie, how does it feel? We've just learned that you've won the Hilton Humanitarian Prize. Tell us what it means to you and your organization.
We are over the moon with this prize. We are so excited. It's not just a dream come true, but it means a lot, not just for me, but for the many communities that we work with, for the partners that support us to date, and for the many children who are going to benefit from this.
This is the world's most prominent humanitarian award. Not everyone knows the organizations that win it. It's not always the biggest organizations. The goal is to find the most impactful organizations. So maybe not everyone watching knows CAMFED. Maybe can you just say a word or two about what does CAMFED do?
Well, CAMFED stands for the Campaign for Female Education. We support girls in some of the most marginalized communities in Ghana, Malawi, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe to go to school, to learn when they get there, to thrive and become independent, influential leaders. But importantly, I just want to mention this, that a large proportion of our leadership, from grassroots to international, is made up of women who, like me, were once themselves supported through school by the organization.
Yeah, I was reading this. You're from Zimbabwe yourself. You grew up in a rural area. What did CamFed mean for you in your own life and your own education?
It meant a lot. It gave me a chance because, we work in a context where girls face many more barriers to education than boys, especially at secondary level. Girls are pushed out of school due to many factors, but all of them are grounded in poverty and gender inequity. And I was going to be one of the victims of such injustice. But CamFed gave me a chance to stay in secondary school. So look at me now.
It's an incredible story and amazing to see you're now running the organization in Africa and you are here to accept the Hilton Humanitarian Prize. It's pretty exciting. What makes CamFed different, right? There are many organizations that work on children's education, girls' education in Africa and some of the countries you mentioned. What do you think would be distinctive about CamFed that sets you apart?
Besides the fact that I mentioned earlier that, a proportion of our leadership from grassroots to international level is leading the program now, our program also provides both financial and social support to children and are owned and actioned by the communities we serve. These are communities who select those most in need. They're the communities that create a network of support around the children, provide mentoring, growing food for school meals, building school infrastructure, and working with local authorities on either cases of abuse or child marriage. Our program is not just holistic, it's sustainable. And that's what's very distinctive about what we do.
Got it. So you're saying, if an organization came in and just provided money alone, and maybe this is obvious to people who work so closely in this field, money alone doesn't solve this problem.
No.
You need to have local leadership, the community involved. You need to think holistically about what these children are going through.
Definitely. Money alone cannot solve the problems. It makes a huge difference. It charges the movement, mobilizes communities. But the beauty of what we do is that as an organization, what we do is both disruptive and inclusive. Because we are not just supporting girls to go to school, we are changing embedded mindsets along the way, but we're embedding it in action today. And in partnership with local authorities, traditional leaders, and government officials to make communities healthier, wealthier, and more resilient. But I think for me, the most important thing that I want the world to know is that while we recognize girls' education is important, we recognize it as an organization, as the basis for female representation and leadership in all walks of life. So it's not the end, it's the beginning, it's the foundation that we need to deliver social justice, gender equity, and economic development. And of course, it's the key to climate action.
So Angie, the Hilton Humanitarian Prize is the world's largest humanitarian award, $2.5 million of unrestricted funds. What does that mean for an organization of your scale? What do you plan to do with the money?
We will dedicate the prize funds to the development of our Pan-African Leadership Network, our sisterhood, the CamFed Association. We've got the expertise, the passion, the commitment, and the connections, and of course, a democratic infrastructure for cascading knowledge and acting with agility in times of crisis. We simply need the funds to supercharge our movement, and this will be a vital contribution to our wider strategic goals to support another 5 million girls through school, help 50,000 young women to create climate-smart agriculture businesses, to create 150,000 new jobs, and of course, to grow our network to 280,000 action-oriented women leaders. We always say, together we can. And with the Hilton Prize Foundation at our side, we will not tire.
We're running out of time, Angie, but I just want to know, tell us the backstory of how you learned you won this award and what it was like.
Wow. We got the call informing us we had won the 2021 Hilton Humanitarian Prize mid-June. We just couldn't believe it. So let me just tell you what happened, right? We got the news. I went immediately blank. I asked the team to repeat what they had said. I screamed. I did a little dance. And I think I was laughing, giggling, crying all at the same time. I was beyond happy. For me and for everyone who makes it possible for us to do what we do.
Well, the work you do is remarkable. Your personal story is remarkable. And I know everyone following along is probably dancing along with you in congratulations for this incredible honor and award. It's amazing to see it, and we look forward to much further coverage and discussion about you and CamFed and the Hilton Humanitarian Prize as we continue our series focused on these issues. Follow us along on social media, and we look forward to connecting the entire global humanitarian and development community with you and with CamFed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us for this incredibly exciting announcement, and congratulations to CamFed on winning the 2021 Hilton Humanitarian Prize. If you're interested in these issues, you're going to want to follow along in the series that we at DevX are putting together with the Hilton Foundation on the future of humanitarian action. The humanitarian sector is undergoing tremendous change, and we get into all of those underlying issues in a really dynamic series. We'd love your participation in that. Follow along on Twitter using the hashtag humanitarianfuture, and follow the Hilton Foundation on Twitter for more information about the prize ceremony, which is coming up, and it's always a star-studded event with really fantastic and interesting participation from around the world. You'll get to learn more about CamFed, see the actual prize ceremony, and I hope to see you there.